We begin by querying up breaking news. SAVE selects Todd Delmay as the new executive director as Orlando Gonzalez is celebrated. There was much breaking news in the last 24 hours as SmartRide announced the end of the iconic ride when the 20th anniversary event happens in November. You can see that live interview on Queer News Tonight I did yesterday with the SmartRide founder Glen Weinzimer and executive director Todd Delmay. During the interview, the news breaks that Delmay has accepted the new executive director position for SAVE. SAVE is a vital LGBTQ+ social justice and advocacy organization in South Florida. Delmay announced he will become interim executive director of SAVE on October 2nd, and then will take full responsibility for the organization in the coming weeks after that. This will create a cascade of changes beyond SmartRide. Delmay will resign as president of the Dolphin Democrats as SAVE is a nonpartisan organization. The current Vice President Sabrina Javellana will become president. He is also well known for his work as president of the LGBT Hollywood Council and Hollywood Pride. He will end his term as president at the end of the year, but will continue as president of Hollywood Pride. Delmay also revealed in that exclusive interview that he will close his 20-plus year travel business to focus full attention on SAVE. During the interview, we discussed the incredible contributions the current executive director, Orlando Gonzalez, has accomplished for the LGBTQ+ community. Gonzales had announced earlier in the year that he would be moving on to other work. Delmay said Gonzales will be assisting SAVE for a number of months to come. Sources close to Queer News Tonight indicated there were more than 30 applicants for the SAVE executive director position, and the finalists that were presented were ultimately not endorsed by the board. Delmay then became a late recommendation that has led to his selection. Everyone at Queer News Tonight takes special note of Orlando Gonzalez's contribution to LGBTQ+ political social justice in Miami-Dade and all of South Florida. He has been a valued anchor here at Queer News Tonight, and I ended the interview with Todd Delmay pointing out that his plate at SAVE will be very full in 2024 with the upcoming presidential election. Watch this. Todd, I want to turn to you a moment. Congratulations. You're the new executive director of SAVE. That notice on social media at SAVE was announced. We're going to talk about it tomorrow in Queer News Tonight, but your thoughts about becoming executive director at SAVE?
Well, there are big shoes to fill. Orlando Gonzalez is an amazing human being and has done an incredible job. And just in the whole interview and process, I kept talking about SAVE as being sort of one of those indispensable assets, right? Like I remember when the job announcement first happened and that they were going to be looking for somebody, in the back of my head I thought, boy, they better find somebody good. Right? Like we all have sort of a sense of ownership of these assets in our community. I mean, everybody feels some small part of ownership in the SmartRide. That's why people feel it so personally. Yeah. And I think SAVE is one of those as well, that we all kind of feel like, you know, we have a stake in its success. And going through the process with the board and kind of talking about what it would look like. Obviously, there are some changes that are happening in my personal life. I'm officially leaving the travel business, which I started 22 years ago, to make space to do that. This is now my new full-time job. It will necessarily mean leaving Dolphin Democrats as president, because SAVE is nonpartisan. But even in all of those things, like I see the opportunities going forward. It's kind of the space that I've wanted to be in, that I've been existing in for a while, of advocating for my community. That's political, of course. That is building a space for the next generation. I really think that's one of the charges that I have in the role, is to, and make space, because, you know, SAVE has been at the forefront of a lot of the fights. I mean, if you know the organization, even though they haven't been Saved Aid in 10 years or so, people still think of it as Saved Aid. And they think about it as its founding in '93 and trying to pass non-discrimination ordinances in Miami-Dade County. But there's so much more that SAVE has done.
Well, for our community here in South Florida, this is one of the big stories of 2023 that's formulating over the weekend. The implications of these decisions are going to be far-reaching. First, the effect on Smart Ride and the decision to end after its 20th anniversary, November 17th and 18th. It's raised $15 million. Its goal this year is to raise $2 million. I hope you watch that interview, especially if you want to learn more about some of the dramatic history of AIDS in the 1990s, of which Glen Weinzimer was 10 days away in his diagnosis of being told that he was going to die in 10 days. And that was in 1993. 2003, he launches the Smart Ride and raises $15 million over the next 20 years. This end has to do with the issues of what's going on in our community. I can't imagine a choice like Todd Delmay, frankly. I've worked with him at Hollywood Pride for a number of years. I worked with him at the council. I worked with him at the LGBT Florida Democratic Caucus at Broward for the Democrats. He's central to so many things. This appointment makes him focus on SAVE. So it required a withdrawal of so many things that he was giving his attention to. The loss of those will be felt, and I'm sure all of those organizations will do just fine. But for SAVE, this is an exciting time. And one last observation to Orlando Gonzalez. He came in a very difficult time in what was going on with SAVE and the, all of the stuff that was going on. And he pulled it together, and he's done an incredible job. We congratulate Orlando Gonzalez of his contributions to SAVE. What do y'all think? Todd Delmay.
I think he has very large shoes to fill.
Yeah.
But I wish him all the best, and I wish that his position is as sturdy as that hairstyle that he had in that interview. Baby, that hair was done.
Oh, it's everything.
It's important here.
Yes, it's important.
This is fantastic news for Todd, a fellow Legacy Couples member, I might add. And it's also exciting to see Queer News Tonight anchors Glen and Orlando making the news as well. It's nice to see people sit at this table also being part of the news.
Yeah, being part of the community.
The community too.
Robert, you have a unique position. You're arbitrator eye of the history of LGBT. That's the mission at Stonewall. What do you think in terms of the history we're watching right now going on in our South Florida community?
It's not only South Florida, because for the first time, maybe since AIDS, maybe even in forever, we have the opportunity to show our resilience in a way that was not possible before, because technology makes it possible. So whereas before we were communities rather than a community, we're now really a community. And HRC or Lambda, they are national organizations, but we feel them in our own backyards, wherever those backyards may be.
Yeah,
and so I think that what's important to see here is not what Todd is going to be pulled back from, but how he is going to inject SAVE into all of these different places where it may not have been before. Because Todd will not step back. Todd will always step forward. So I think that all the organizations that he's been involved with will find SAVE is present there. That will make SAVE more important than it has been while it organized and while it built itself up to be stable over the past years. So I think that what he does is it pushes it forward, and I think that we all have an obligation to keep pushing Todd so that he can do that.
Yeah. Just as before we move on, a quick illustration to the point that Robert just points out. When Congress passed the recognition of LGBT marriage and the big celebration that was held at the White House, part of the select delegation representing Florida and South Florida was Todd and Jeff Delmay. And they're at the White House. They're inside the White House because of the issues of marriage equality and their lawsuit. It propelled us at Queer News Tonight to partner with whitehouse.gov to broadcast to the LGBTQ community the entire ceremony live with Jeff reporting at the White House. And so it's an indication of exactly your point. It has national implications and international implications launched out of South Florida, and that's probably a very good point in terms of the news that we're watching. Congratulations to SAVE and Todd Delmay and Orlando Gonzalez.